The moment was supposed to be ordinary, just another busy morning in a polished corporate building, where power suits and hurried footsteps ruled the atmosphere. The single dad stood quietly near the elevator, adjusting his worn tie with nervous fingers, clearly out of place among the confident executives around him. He wasn't there to impress anyone. He was there because life had pushed him to show up, despite the exhaustion etched into his face. Then she noticed him. The CEO, known for her sharp mind and commanding presence, paused mid-step. Something about him felt different, perhaps the way he stood slightly hunched, or the sincerity in his eyes that contrasted with the cold professionalism around them. Without thinking too much, she stepped closer. In one smooth, confident motion, she reached out and fixed his tie. Time seemed to slow. Her fingers brushed his collar, close enough for him to catch her subtle perfume. The world around them faded as the simple gesture suddenly felt far more personal than either of them expected. His breath hitched, his eyes widening in surprise. He wasn't used to being noticed, let alone touched, by someone so powerful and composed. For her, it was meant to be nothing, just a reflex, a small act of order in a chaotic space. Yet as she met his gaze, she sensed the effect she'd had on him. The confident CEO felt an unfamiliar flutter, realizing this brief interaction had crossed an invisible line. In that public setting, surrounded by strangers, a quiet tension settled between them. What should have been forgettable became unforgettable and awkward. Intimate first encounter that neither of them could shake, marking the beginning of something neither had planned, but both would remember. The air between them tightened the moment she leaned closer. It was subtle, so subtle that anyone watching might have missed it, but for him, the world narrowed to the sound of her voice and the warmth of her breath near his ear. Her lips curved slightly as she whispered, a single sentence delivered, softly, playfully, yet loaded with meaning. It wasn't loud enough for anyone else to hear, but it echoed loudly in his chest. The words were teasing, almost careless, yet they carried a warning beneath the humor, as if she were testing a line she rarely crossed. Half warning, half challenge. The whisper made his heart stumble. He hadn't realized he was staring, hadn't realized how close she was until that instant. His face flushed, and he quickly looked away, caught between embarrassment and something far more dangerous, attraction. For her, the whisper was meant to regain control of the moment. She was used to power, to being the one who unsettled others without being affected herself. But as she pulled back and saw his reaction, the surprise, the restraint, the way he clearly fought to steady himself, she felt an unexpected thrill. This wasn't part of the plan. There was no plan. That single whisper changed the tone of everything. What began as an innocent interaction now hummed with unspoken tension. They both felt it, the pull, the curiosity, the sense that something deeper had just been awakened. Neither of them said another word, yet the silence spoke volumes. As they stepped apart, pretending nothing had happened, one truth lingered between them. That brief, intimate whisper had shifted something irreversible, opening a door neither of them had intended to unlock, but neither could ignore. What began as a simple, almost playful interaction between the CEO and the single dad soon revealed layers neither of them expected. On the surface, it was just a tie being straightened, a whisper exchanged, a fleeting glance, but beneath those small gestures lay emotions both had long buried. He, the single dad, had spent years building walls around himself. Life had taught him to protect his heart, to focus on survival, on responsibilities, on his child. Love, attention, and flirtation felt foreign, almost dangerous. And yet, in her presence, he felt a vulnerability he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. His mind raced, caught between desire and caution, wondering if such feelings could ever be safe or even allowed in his complicated, structured life. She, the CEO, was no stranger to power, commanding rooms, making decisions, and managing empires had hardened her, teaching her to rely on intellect rather than emotion. Yet, the moment she saw him flustered, heard his quiet laughter, or noticed the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching, she realized how lonely her own walls had made her. For the first time in a long while, someone unsettled her, not by challenge or competition, but by simple authenticity, by a life lived outside of boardrooms and strategy meetings. As minutes stretched into moments, a subtle but undeniable tension grew, a magnetic pull that neither could ignore. Their lives, separated by circumstance and social worlds, felt poised on the brink of collision. Every small gesture, every whispered word hinted at the desires simmering beneath the surface. And while neither spoke openly of what they felt, the unspoken emotions were louder than words, echoing between them in a language only their hearts understood. In that fleeting encounter, a seed was planted, a promise of connection, intimacy, and change. Behind their strong exteriors, loneliness met longing, caution met curiosity, and two lives unknowingly prepared to intertwine.